Hello, welcome back to the most glorious day. It's not spring, but you wouldn't know it looking at the temperature. I tell you what, I think we're actually setting a record today. In fact, it's like 25 degrees warmer than usual for this time of year in March. And hey, I don't know about you, but I'll take it. In fact, as I look around, I could see that it is, whether for the good or for the bad, having some perennials come back to life a little bit faster than normal, which is why we're here. Maybe this is happening in your garden too. Hello everyone, Lori from the future here with a reminder of exactly how changeable the weather is in my little corner of the world. Record heat one day and a snowstorm with whiteout conditions the next. So yeah, that's why this next part makes a lot of sense. Back to the video. There are some perennials that probably should be trimmed up before their actual spring growth starts. I'm talking about hellebores, perennial grasses, some examples like that. Because especially when it comes to hellebores, or what some people call the Lenten rose, having the old foliage on there from the winter and from the fall can help bring some fungus as it's trying to have the new flowers and the new foliage emerge. Now, first of all, I'm going to apologize for all of the background noise you probably hear. I've got a neighbor who is residing their house and trucks moving up and down in the street across the way, so hopefully this microphone is going to work. But either way, let's get right to work and I'll take you along and we'll see how things are doing. All right, here we go. Okay, can you see the growth that is starting to emerge here for spring? I've had this particular hellebore about 6 years. It's getting to be a good sized clump now. And I love these because even after the blooms, the foliage looks good for the duration of the growing season. But they're from some of the first to bloom, and in weather like this, they're coming a little bit early. So let's clean these up. You can see where the dead foliage is here. Here's the new foliage. Just take down this old stuff. There are some other green shoots down in here. Cut it right down to the base. There are some new stems, new things coming up. Keep it nice and healthy as the new stuff starts to emerge. Now, as for the rest, I'm not going to scrape this out and clean it up too much, but I will remove these. Okay, and I've got some more over here. There's some little sprouts coming up there. And it's also time to clean up perennial grasses. Trim down last year's growth that should be dried and lightweight by now. About an inch off the ground is what I do. You need to trim this and clean it out before the new growth starts to emerge. Otherwise, you end up with a bit of a mess trying to sort out the dead old stuff from the new green stuff. So what I do here is I just chop and drop. I clear it away from the crown, and then I chop it up in smaller pieces and use that to protect some of the daffodils or the tulips that are emerging right now. And it will just decompose naturally, and I can mulch right on top of that. And speaking of protecting that new green growth, oh no, look out!
Oh, this is horrible.
Even though I squished them, they'll be just fine. And you know what? Daffodils and tulips coming up this time of year are actually protected for the most part. There's my Elvin's voice narcissus. I love these daffodils. So they'll emerge, and weather this time of year here in Iowa, it gets cold, it snows one day, it's sunny and 60 the next. or it rains, but for the most part, these are built to last, so don't fret. There we go. And don't forget to keep the bird feeders stocked and some clean, fresh water that doesn't freeze for your birds if you want to keep them through the winter. Because I mean, days like this, perfect example, record high, and then we're going to slam back into freezing temperatures overnights in just a couple of days. So, just thinking they're fine. And for a lot of, for people who have these fabulous pollinator habitats with tons of materials and thistles and natural foods for the finches to eat all winter, that's great. It doesn't work for our particular aesthetic or I guess where we live, but I love those plants and I try to weave a couple of those in wherever I can. But in the meantime, finch feeder also works. So on to the next step, which will be starting seeds. That's what's coming up next. The hardest part about this time of year is to resist the temptation of cleaning everything. I mean, I look at the clematis that I have, even the type 1 that blooms on new wood. I can clean those out. There's some others here, the sweet autumn clematis. That's also another kind that I can clean out. Right now there are some little finches that overwinter in there and also hide from there when the hawks come looking for them in my backyard. So it will be easier to clean up next month when I'm ready to do that because the plants and the materials have died back naturally, dried out, made it quite a bit lighter weight than if I would have cleaned it up in the fall, which would also work. But like I said, then you're dealing with a lot more fresh green material and it's harder and heavier. So this way it will be completely dried out. Still works as a backyard habitat for what I need. I will need to clean it out before any new growth starts to appear there, and that should be, at least for another month yet. But I will be, I'm itching to clean that out right now. And there's some other things too. But I'm trying to leave as much material on the ground as I can. Leaves, wood mulch, materials. And you'll notice when I cut down, except for the hellebores, that old foliage, which tends to have mildew in it, that one I do toss. But for grasses, dried perennial grasses, I just chop them up and leave them, just off to the side. Not on top of the crown, of course, but I just put that back in the landscape and that whole chop and drop kind of thing. The theory behind it is that it helps restore the carbon to the soil. It naturally decays, and when it comes time to add fresh wood mulch here, we just do it right on top of that material. The worms bring it back down to the soil and it helps feed the soil naturally. So that's the plan, but it's hard to look at it right now when it looks kind of messy. Hopefully, like I said, some hellebores will be blooming soon. The snowdrops are up. I can see some other fresh green foliage here from the hardy geranium. I've got some tulips and daffodils starting to come up. And if you do find yourself having to remove some material and you're worried about another freeze coming and those possibly being damaged, you can always chop that material and add a bit of a mulch on top of it. Again, if it's clean and it's dry, you can always mulch your tulips and your emerging daffodils with that material if you happen to be particularly worried. But for the most part, they're going to be just fine. That's kind of how that works. Nature finds its own way, right? For the most part. So, well, thank you for joining me. I hope if you have questions, just let me know. In the meantime, I hope that all is green and growing and fabulous weather like this in your corner of the world too. Keep me posted. Let me know how you're doing. I hope that you subscribe so we can stay connected and track our progress together. An exciting season is coming up. The wait is almost over. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye. Hi. Is it getting warmer? What do you think? Still need a sweater? Yeah, still need a sweater.